Well, hello, beautiful humans. Welcome to the live after our Zelph on the Shelf episode. Um, Wednesday night is my regular thing, and that episode was ready to go. I felt like it was kind of an opportune moment to show it because I had recently been talking about some deconstruction things on the channel, and I felt like their story intersected with mine in a good way to show that episode tonight. And I did not realize that my dear friend Lauren Matthias was doing a live on excuse me, on a hidden true crime with bombshells about the Delphi, Indiana case. And I have not been following that case just because I only have so much emotional space for true crime things when I'm going through other things. And so I did not know that she was doing that live tonight. So I'm sure that that is where the majority of my audience is this evening, which is completely totally fine. I just wanted to, I want to keep on my schedule of my Wednesday night lives. I'm trying to stay consistent with that. And I know that my channel subscribers and members will watch the episode that I posted. I know that they will watch it later, and that's wonderful. Welcome, Justice Jane, Reflections of Me, Destiny, Jen. Glad you guys are here. Um, uh, thank you, Jen. Yeah, I figured she was just finishing up, and so I'm glad that this episode was a little bit longer because what I try to do is I try to show my episode at 8 p.m. and then go live afterwards. And sometimes my episodes are a little longer, sometimes shorter. So this one was a little bit longer, an hour and a half or so. Yeah, hi, Kimmy Joe, hi, McSpunky. I saw that was going on. I didn't look at YouTube until after I posted my episode, so I realized like all my people are over there. So thank you guys for being here. Hi Renee, good to see you. Um, 10,000 in chat. That's amazing. I'm so, so, so happy for her. She's doing wonderful things with her channel. I wish that I had the brain space to engage with the Delphi trial, but I just really don't. I'm still in a place where I have to limit the amount of true crime that I consume. And honestly, I was really surprised by this, you guys, but Halloween is kind of hard for me. It has been the last few years. I used to really love spooky season, Halloween, you know, scary skeleton dressing up kind of things. And I just realized that that's really changed for me over the last few years, and I'm sad about it because I used to really enjoy it. There are some things that I still do really enjoy about this time of year, but like driving through my neighborhood and seeing people um, putting like fake skeletons in the ground with like hands reaching up and stuff, it really, really, really bothers me. Um, I guess understandably, I guess I have to just give myself space for that because it's totally understandable why that would bother me, but I don't like the fact that it bothers me. Um, I think it's like spooky season, we get to kind of um, pretend with blood and guts and gore and things like that and scary things. But when you have been in close proximity to something horrific, it changes all of that. And I don't like it. Um, it's sad. It's like another part of the grieving process that I never ever expected to undergo. Um, my birthday is the beginning of October. My youngest daughter's birthday is at the end of October, and her birthday almost always is centered around Halloween themed things for that reason. And yeah, it's just weird. It's it's a weird thing that I never thought I was going to have to confront. Just like going through being involved in a true crime case is something I never thought that I was going to have to be a part of. So it's just a weird space that I'm not really sure how to talk about that yet. I don't really have the words for it yet. It's just very odd to think, you know, you see Dateline, you see 2020, things like that. Um, And it's sort of a curiosity, right? Because all of us are curious about, like, how to not die, you know? I think at least for me, in the past, when I've seen true crime things, it's like, "Okay, noted. She went to this place alone. She had no, protection. She didn't tell anyone where she was. So therefore, I'm gonna make sure I don't do any of those things, and then maybe I will be safe." So, like, watching true crime for women, at least for me at least, is a way to say, like, "Okay, here are some things I need to do, to protect myself." Um, and you're right, reflections of me, it's one day at a time, but it's also, like, stuff that you're completely unprepared to deal with. And there's no rule book, there's no guidebook, there's no place you can go to be like, how to be a family member of a murderer. Um, how to be a family member of a murderer who murdered a family member. I just there's like there's no space for that. So um, it's a brand new world that we're all of us navigating in the best ways that we know how. Um, so anyway, it's I don't know. At some point, I think right now, like if I'm being honest, like on a scale of 1 to 10, looking at like graveyards in people's front yards and like spooky, scary skeleton stuff, it's like a 4 or a 5 on my radar. You know, like I see it and I'm like, I wish I could go back to a time when I thought that that was funny and cute. Um, I wish that I didn't have to look at Halloween through this lens of like, "Oh, that's really funny. You put a decal on your trunk that has bloodstains, and, um, that's, like, your way of celebrating spooky season." But then I think about I don't know. Anyway, I don't wanna get too far down that rabbit hole just to say that, like, I look at things differently now through a different lens, and that's, I think, understandable. I'm giving myself grace for that. Um, yeah. I'm sorry about this, reflections of me, and Jen, you're right. It's it's just hitting me. I mean, I've felt this way ever since the kids were found, but like every October kind of just like reignites for me just looking around the world in the neighborhood, you know, at this time of year. Um it's different. My mother-in-law used to like my former mother-in-law, I should say, like Halloween was her favorite time of year. And she would always invite us over and she would make things like she called them mummy dogs, where she would take a hot dog and wrap it in croissant dough and like put two little like black eyes of like icing or something. I don't know what she used. And then she would make like these green mashed potatoes and put like fake eyeballs in them. And it was like gross food anyway, but also like anyway, she just didn't she was enjoying the holiday, and she loved Halloween, and I loved it when my kids were little and they would all dress up, and we had so much fun doing trunk or treating and trick or treating and all of that kind of stuff. I still enjoy those things, but the decorations for me and some of the costumes too are kind of like what's a little disturbing. It's like you wanna dress up to be somebody who's gonna go around unaliving people, and carry a weapon, like a fake weapon with you. I just look at it different. It's not the kind of thing that like I'm in a spiral, but it's like it disturbs me a little bit, and then of course I just go on with my day. So um, I'm really sorry, Kimmy Joe. So yeah, October is tough, and we just learn to navigate. Like we know that these anniversaries and these difficult dates are coming up for us. For me, one of the hardest times is around the holidays. Um, Anniversaries are always difficult, and we have to learn to figure out how to do life when we have multiple difficult anniversaries and multiple difficult, um, circumstances that come up in our life to now. Like, if I recognized every anniversary of every traumatic thing that happened to me, there would not be a day of the year probably that went by that I didn't feel something about that day. Um, Thanks, MB. Good to see you. And so I don't really, I try really hard not to get my mind stuck on particular dates. Um, if I have a loved one, I try to remember them on their birthday rather than on their death day or rather than on some traumatic date. Um, that helps me a lot because remembering their birthday is like, this is the day you came into the world and changed the world. So you will never guess what I did today. I think there is one person in the world, maybe two people in the world. Well, okay, more than that. Um, of the beautiful humans out here in this area, there's probably one person of the beautiful humans that know what I actually did today because I had a coaching client this morning that I talked to and told her what I did. So put your things in the chat. I'm gonna just mute for 1 second. Okay, so no guesses. MB, now that you say that, I have to say I had two clients today that actually, well, today over the last couple of days that knew what was going on. Originally, I was slated for jury duty today, and this is actually I had to postpone my jury duty because last jury duty I was visiting with my daughter for her birthday and like our birthday trip. Um, so they deferred my jury duty to today, and then last week I got a call and I had to defer my jury duty again. And admittedly, too, I have to say, like, I totally view jury duty completely differently than I used to before. It used to be a thing that I was like, "Ugh, do I have to? Ugh," and I would go down to the courthouse and be like, "I'm just gonna tell them everything that's on my mind, and they're gonna dismiss me." Um, I don't think that many people want me on a jury because I am an educated, opinionated female who speaks her mind. I'm a truth teller. Um, but now, having spoken to the jurors that served on Lori's trial, her first trial, and Chad's trial, understanding the impact that it has on their lives and understanding how much we as family members relied on the jury to make the right decision. Um, I take it so very, very seriously now. So I did not cancel my jury service. I deferred it. So originally it was deferred to today, and then I had to defer it again to another day. About a week ago, a little over a week ago, I got a message from a person who was a dear friend of mine. I was the member of the same Mormon congregation for 25 years, which is not really normal in Mormonism and especially outside of Utah. If you live in Utah, especially if you're like raising your kids all in the same area, you're going to stay pretty much in the same ward while your kids are growing up. But outside of Utah, it's pretty rare. And so for 25 years, I was in the same ward. Um, the same congregation members sort of got recycled as leadership and bishops and things like that. And I got a message from one of my favorite people, actually. She was the wife of one of my favorite bishops, a good bishop, a really good bishop, which is rare. We always talk about bishop roulette in the Mormon church, like, sometimes you get a really great one, sometimes you don't, and so this woman was a dear friend of mine. She was always so good to me. I saw her as, like, a mother figure. Ironically, well, I don't know if it's ironic or not, but I'll tell you a little bit about our interactions over the years. I loved having her husband as a bishop. He was very compassionate, very kind. Um, she was the Relief Society president when I first joined the ward as a young mother with a 2-year-old daughter, and I think I was expecting my second child. And I was married to a man who was not a member, and so, of course, like, the focus of the entire ward was like, "Oh, let's get him baptized, let's get them to the temple." But she was just always very kind to me. Um, anyway, throughout the years, we were both in that ward together for a really long time. Um, when her father passed away, I sang at his funeral. When her mother passed away, I sang at her funeral. And she contacted me a couple weeks ago to tell me that her sister had passed away and that her sister's wish was for me to sing at her funeral. Um, her sister and I were friends for a long time. And then during the 2016 election, I had some very strong thoughts as a survivor of SA, and I posted a lot of those strong thoughts. And this person was not kind to me during that time. It was very clear which side of the aisle she was on and that there was no room for any discussion in any way. Um, but she was a person who loved to play the piano. She was very opinionated, obviously. Um, but she used to say, "It's not Christmas until Megan sings O Holy Night." So she loved to hear me sing, and I sang in church for almost every holiday during in my ward. Um, so, thank you thank you for this smiling Jack. I'm just gonna post that so everyone else can see it. Thank you. Love to you as well. Um, so when she passed away recently, she planned she was very sick towards the end of her life, and she planned a lot of her funeral service, and she asked if I would sing. And so when her sister, my dear friend, the wife of the good bishop that I loved, when she messaged me, she said, "I pretty much know how you feel about the church, and I don't know if you are interested in church or anything like that, but my sister requested that you sing at the funeral, and so I just thought I would ask just in case." But I she said, "Please don't feel like you have to say yes," something to that extent. Um, what's really interesting to me is that after being my bishop, her husband then became a member of the stake presidency and then became a member of the temple presidency, which for those of you who don't know, every temple in the world has somebody who controls all of the workings of the temple, who's the temple president, and his wife is called the temple matron, and she helps all of the womenly functions in the temple. The man, of course, oversees all of the things, but the woman is the matron, and she helps all of the women who are going through the temple for the first time. She meets with them personally, and she meets with the women who work in the temple to help them fulfill their duties in the temple. Um, so she was the temple matron for a time, and it just so happens that the very last day that I ever set foot in a Mormon temple, she happened to be there. And it was the day of my oldest daughter's wedding, and we had been through the wedding ceremony, and then we were both in the dressing room changing, and the tradition is that the bride changes from her temple wedding dress into her regular wedding dress, which is a rabbit hole for another time. And so I changed from my temple dress into my dress that I was going to wear for a reception. Um, Thank you, Dom's Mom 725. Did you change the numbers in your username, or have you always been 725? Thank you so much for being a member for 4 months. So we were in the dressing room. My daughter was changing into her regular wedding dress. I was changing into my wedding reception attire, which, by the way, I was very careful to make sure accommodated the temple garment, which again is a rabbit hole for another time. So I was changing, and somebody came into the dressing room and said, "Is anyone in here?" And I recognized her voice, and it was the voice of my dear friend. Um, and I hurried to like finish zipping up my dress, and I opened the door and I came out and just gave her the biggest hug. So grateful that she was there at that moment because I was estranged from my parents, and she had always been kind of a mother figure to me. So I always felt that was like thank you. Thank you for bringing her to me at that moment. Um, so anyway, went on about my life and they moved away. They went to another congregation, another stake. I didn't see them forever. And then I interacted with her sister online during the 2016 election, and the interactions were not kind. They were not good. They were not like supportive of my position as an SA survivor. Um, and I eventually had to block her, um, which I was kind of sad about. But then when I heard about her passing, when her sister called me and said, "I don't know where you're at, but she requested you," that really struck me because I was like, no matter what our differences were, she still wanted me to be a part of her final goodbye to the world. So today, I sang Ave Maria at a Mormon funeral service. um, so it's really funny because my dear friend, when she messaged me, she said, these are some of her favorite songs. And immediately I was like, the Ave Maria, like, I love singing that song. It's a great one. But I said, it's definitely not traditional for a Mormon funeral service because it's basically the Hail Mary full of grace. It's a very Catholic song. And Mormons don't believe in worshiping individual people, except for Joseph Smith. But that's a rabbit hole for another time. Um, so I thought about this a little bit. Of course, I immediately said yes. I would be, of course, I'm happy to do it. Like I sang at your mother's funeral, I sang at your father's funeral. I'm gonna sing at your sister's funeral too. Um, Sorry, guys, give me 1 second. Okay, sorry guys. Sometimes kids need things. um, MB, I do need a shirt. That's a rabbit hole for another day. I totally do. I liked what the backyard professor said the other night on the live. He was like, rabbit holes lead to carrots, and I love carrots. Um, yes, I'm great. Thank you so much for being here. Love you, love you. Yes, I sang it at the memorial. It's one of my favorite songs, and I don't really know why. It's just that I love I don't know, it's asking the mother of Jesus Christ to be with us in the hour of our death. So I'm sure that most of you probably don't speak Latin because it's a dead language. But that's what the translation is. It's Hail Mary, full of grace, and then there's a bunch of other stuff like blessings on us and whatever. But at the very end of the song, it says, "Be with us in the hour of death, in the hour of death, in the hour of our death." Um, and there's something really powerful about that, I think. Um, even for those who don't literally believe, even for those who are skeptical or who believe that Jesus Christ was just a great teacher. Even if you believe he was just a great teacher, his mother taught him some things. So the idea of honoring Mary, I think, is a good one. And I like that idea. And I like the idea of, a mother who lost her son before he should have died, asking her to be with us in the hour of our death, in the hour of our grief, I think is kind of a cool concept. So, anyway, um, so she sent me a list of things. My friend sent me a list of things that she would, her favorite, like her sister's favorite songs. And I said, Ave Maria, 100%. I would love to sing that one. Um, but I said, but I know it's not a traditional Mormon song. And she said, well, it's not going to be a traditional Mormon funeral. And I was like, thank everything that flies in the sky above, because Mormon funerals are, I think, they delay the grieving process because a lot of times they focus on what Mormons believe about the afterlife rather than focusing on the life of the person who's being honored. And this was not the case today. And I was super, super grateful for that. Um, wow. What to say? So I knew going into this that it was very likely that I was going to encounter people who had been in my congregation that I was in for 25 years. And I know that most of them, if not all of them, know that I'm out of the church now. And knowing how faithful members, look on ex members, I was a little bit concerned about what that interaction was going to be like. Um, the the person who was playing the piano, the accompanist, is somebody that I had worked with lots of times while I was a faithful member. And I sang for every freaking holiday, every event, everything. Like, I got asked to sing all the time. And there was another lady in the ward who also got asked to sing because she was a former professional musician as well. So the two of us would show up like at everything, like together, we would be there. And sure enough, she was going to be at the memorial service too. So the pianist was somebody I had worked with before, and the other performer was somebody I had worked with before in a church capacity lots and lots of times. So I was a little concerned about, like, how is this interaction going to go? I know a lot of people in my former congregation are not happy with me exiting the church, not happy with some of the things I've said. There were some people in my ward who were really unkind to me during my divorce, during my transition. I've told some stories about things like that as well. And it was really interesting to see all of those people again. So, there was an accident on the freeway, and I was a little bit late to the service, which I was kind of grateful for, honestly, because I really didn't want to, talk to any of those people before I had to perform. So, I think I may have talked about this before, but I don't remember if I do, and I'm sorry if I'm rambling just a little bit, but in order to be able to perform at a funeral service, there are some very specific things that I have to do. I sort of have to isolate myself. I have to delay my grieving. Um, I can't really interact in a funeral the way most normal people do. Most people will show up to the viewing first and greet the family and then sit in the funeral service, listen to the whole service, etc. I can't do those things if I'm going to sing because I have learned from difficult experience that you cannot sing and cry at the same time. And so, I'm a little bit grateful that there was an accident. Oh, I feel terrible saying that. Like, I'm grateful that I was delayed getting to the service so that I didn't have to interact with any of my former ward members before the service, before I had to sing. So when I got there, um, there was a family member giving a eulogy, and I was able to just sort of collect myself, sit in the back, not interact with anybody until, long after I had to sing. Also, though, you guys, I got diagnosed with ADHD a little over a year ago, and I haven't really performed very much since then, except for I did sing at the memorial of Tylee and JJ. That's really like the only public performance that I've done in over a year, which is very weird because I used to perform all the time, just all the time. So I remember watching a video by Mel Robbins, who I love to follow because she is a little bit older than me, but she was diagnosed with ADHD late in her life, just like me. And I remember her saying, like, sometimes she doesn't take her medications, especially if she is going to do a public speaking engagement, because that like sort of rush of adrenaline that happens when you get on stage is something that she naturally needed, and she didn't want to be affected by medication at that time. So I said to myself, okay, I'm going to do a performance. And I know for me personally, I have like, I wouldn't call it nervousness, but it's sort of like an anxious excitement that happens when I perform. That's like a rush of adrenaline. It does get my heart rate going, but like it doesn't make me nervous. It's just like I'm excited to do this thing and I want to do well. So I said to myself, this morning, I was like, I'm only going to take part of my medication, not the whole thing, because I do want to be on time. Because time blindness is my thing. But I don't want to be overly like agitated because there have been times when I have accidentally either taken too much medication because I forgot that I took my medication, so then I took it a second time. That was one of the most unpleasant days of my life. Or I took my medication and then was like, "Sure, I can have half a cup of coffee." Bad idea. It's a really bad idea. Anyway, so I told myself, "Okay, I'm only gonna take part of my medication so that I don't get agitated during the performance," and then I completely forgot. I kept forgetting to take my medication and forgetting and forgetting and forgetting, and then finally I was like, "Oh, okay, need to make sure I take it." But I forgot that I told myself I was only gonna take half. So genuinely, guys, I have to tell you, it was one of the most unpleasant physical sensations that I've ever had in my entire life. I've never had this experience before. Um, so I'm sitting there in the service and listening to the beautiful things that are being said about my friend's sister, and my heart started pounding. And I was like, "Oh, okay. I need to just do some things to calm myself down." I've been a performer for my entire life. Like I started singing publicly when I was 5 years old. So I know how to do these things to regulate myself. So I started doing my breathing exercises and ironically enough, holding my breath for long periods of time is one of those things that helps me just center, slow my heart rate, and that helped a lot. And then one of my dearest friends from the church spoke right before I sang, and she did like the typical Mormon plan of salvation speech, but mingled with some really beautiful thoughts. And she is a former journalist. She's one of my favorite people. Um, one of the people that treated me the kindest in the church, and ironically, her husband was another one of my bishops who was a great bishop. Anyway, she spoke right before I sang, and although the plan of salvation, typical Mormon stuff was a little bit triggering for me, it was really just nice to hear her voice and hear the cadence that she speaks in. That was very calming. But as soon as she was finished speaking, like, my heart started going again, and I got up and walked to the front because it was my time to go, and I felt in my mind like I was fine, but my body was shaking like crazy because of, like, the combination between the excitement, adrenaline of performing, which normally is a really good feeling, but my medication doubling that was not pleasant at all. And my legs started shaking. This is something I've never experienced before, you guys. It was very weird for me. But I was able to sing. I got through the first verse, and then during the interlude where I'm waiting for the second verse to start, I literally had to put my hand on the podium next to me to be able to stand still. I have never experienced anything like this in my life. It was totally crazy. Anyway, I got through the song. It went fine. I went back and sat down, and I started to look around and recognize all of the the former ward members that I had interacted with over the years, some of whom, like, I had taught their children or I had taught them in gospel doctrine class, some of whom are bishops or counselors or whatever. In total, there were probably at least 25 people there who belonged to my former ward. And I'm sure that the majority of them knew, like, know what my position is with the church right now. And it was really interesting to interact with them after the service was over because given the fact of everything that I've been through, it's easy for me to tell who is being authentic and who is not being authentic. And surprisingly, there were only a couple of people who were inauthentic. And here's a story that I want to tell. Um, Thank you for being a new member, and thank you for being a member for 4 months. Um, Before I tell this story, I just wanna say, if you are interested in group coaching, we have a group already, Sunday mornings at 11 AM Central. I would love for everybody to have a free group session just to see what it's like, try it out, see if you like it. So if you would like a free session, I will send you the link. Just email me at megan@third-verse.com, and I will send you a link so you can participate. Also, I've had many requests for an evening session, some because people are overseas, but also some because they're like, Sunday morning's not a good time for me. So if you're interested in a different time other than Sunday morning at 11 AM, please email me. Again, megan@third-verse.com. I will send you a link. We do Google Meet. We had such an amazing conversation on Sunday. I left there feeling so recharged and wonderful, and I can't wait to do it again. So, again, I want you to experience it for free. The first time that you come, you get a free session. I just want you to feel it out and see if it's something that is gonna help you or not, you know? Um, and then also, if you would like one-on-one coaching, I also give a free 20 to 30-minute, like, free consult just to see if we're a good fit to work together. Again, if you go to my website at third-verse.com, you can sign up for a free time to meet with me one-on-one and see if we're good to work together. Coaching is just about you being in a place where you need somebody to look at your life from the outside and maybe see what your blind spots are and look at what your goals are and see if I can help you get there, if I can help you overcome those stuck points. I'm working with people in a huge array of different things, everything from writing a book to starting a business to enhancing their current business to navigating difficult family relationships to negative beliefs about yourself, like just a huge gamut of different things. And the group coaching, what I love about the group coaching is that what I said to people on Sunday is even though we're all working on different things, it all comes down to one idea, which is learning to love yourself better. Because that one concept is going to change everything else about your life. So, no matter what the thing is that you're working on, no matter where it is that you're stuck in your life, no matter what patterns you're constantly repeating, coaching can help you to just zoom out a little bit and see things from a different perspective and maybe address some of the areas where you're repeating unhealthy habits, patterns, behaviors, thoughts, whatever it is. Um, what I love most in the whole world is connecting with individual human beings and hearing your stories and seeing where my resources and my experience can overlap with what you're going through. It's not that I'm an expert on any subject. It's not that I have any special training, but sometimes it takes a person looking at your life from the outside to be able to see the areas you might be stuck and not realize it. Um, I'm super excited about connecting with you guys. So if you're interested in group coaching or one-on-one coaching, just email me, megan@third-verse.com. I try really hard to answer emails at least within a couple of days. I do sometimes get behind, you guys, I'm sorry, but I try my hardest to connect individually with you because that's what I love the most in life. Okay. So back to this story in the memorial service. So I don't know how many of you guys have seen my original Mormon Stories episode. Um, but I went on there and I talked about an instance where I had a bishop during my divorce that I was going through a really hard time and I needed some support. And I thought, like, I'm coming to church every Sunday. I'm bringing my kids to church every Sunday. I'm fulfilling my calling. I'm paying my tithing. I'm going to the temple once a week. And I think people see me out there in the ocean swimming and they think that I'm just doing great because I'm out there just like swimming. But actually, what's happening is that I'm drowning and I really need help and support. And my bishop sat back in his chair and he laughed at me and he said, "What do you expect us to do for you?" And I felt really like a slap in the face. I felt so dishonored in that moment. And that bishop was there today with his wife. And his wife offered the closing prayer. And here's what's really interesting. In her closing prayer, she said, she was, talking about grief and comfort and praying to God for helping us like overcome this time where we're losing somebody that we love. And then she paused for a minute and she said, "Please forgive us for the thoughtless things that we say that may be harmful to other people." And I have no idea if she's watched my Mormon Stories episode. In fact, I would be really surprised if she did. Um, and Destiny, this is a good point. The one related to Lori is actually the one where I unpack my whole Mormon story. It's 4 hours long. So like the intersection of growing up with Lori and also my story, coming out of the church as well. I just thought it was so interesting. I have no idea if she's seen it. I would say I would be frankly really surprised if she has actually seen that Mormon Stories episode where I talked about her husband, or if she even made the connection or knew that it was her husband or not. But I just found it really interesting that sometimes the universe presents a thing and just says, "Here you go." The fact that she said, "Forgive us for the times that we are foolish." She used the word foolish, that are foolish, that we say things that are foolish that may hurt other people. Because I thought that's exactly what that was. It wasn't I don't think it was intentional. I don't think he was trying to hurt me, of course. Um, I just think it was foolish. I had to remind myself after that, like, he's a software designer. He doesn't have training. Nobody trains these poor bishops on how to deal with somebody handling a divorce from an emotionally abusive person. And when I first went to him with my realization that I was being abused, emotionally abused, and I tried to explain to him what emotional abuse entails because he clearly didn't know. He was like, "Well, sometimes I say things to my wife that I don't really mean." And I was like, "That's not what I'm talking about." So I sent him a lot of information about abuse, about the coercive control cycle, hoping that it would inform his future interactions. And he and I didn't really talk a lot after that. So I just think it was really interesting that his wife then said in the prayer, "Forgive us for the foolish things we say that hurt people." Because, of course, that was like not a direct acknowledgement or apology, especially not from him. But after the service was over, he came up and gave me a huge hug, and I wasn't going to refuse it. And so did she. And so did my other ward members who know that I've left. Um, what was really interesting to me too was another ward member who was just an unconventional Mormon, converted at a late age, had some substance and alcohol abuse issues or whatever, and then got called to be the Relief Society president, which is the head of the women's organization, like arguably the most powerful female position that you can hold in the church, even though she doesn't have as much power as a 12-year-old kid, but whatever. Um, I was shocked when she got called as the Relief Society president. But I was like, good for them because she was one of those people that would like always speak the truth. And I've seen her from time to time on my channel. So if you're seeing this, you know who you are. And I love you. And I'm so grateful for you. She came up to me afterwards and we talked for a little while. And she said, I always wanted to grow up to be you because you were so faithful. And I was like, oh, please don't say that. Please don't say that. And she said, then I found out you left. And I was like, well, there goes that idea. But then she told me, like, confidentially, she's like, I'm getting released from my calling on Sunday. And after that, I'm not going back. So it was a really interesting interaction. I didn't say any of this. I didn't announce any of this like before it happened because I wasn't sure how it was going to go. I wasn't sure how I was going to feel. And I just, what I had to go into it with was my dear friend whose sister passed away. She's on the other side now. Wherever she is, her energy has been transformed into new energy. And she's now an ex Mormon because she knows that what we were taught was not true. And every time I thought about that, I smiled because it's a little bit of vindication. I have to be honest about that. It feels a little wrong to relish it that much, but it's like someday we're all going to find out what the real truth is. None of us actually know. None of us really know, not for sure. We might have an idea, we might have a thought, we might have an inkling, we might have an intention, we might have had some divine revelation of some kind, but none of us know for sure until we get there. But now she knows. I guarantee you it's not what Joseph Smith said. That might be arrogant to say, um, but I'm pretty sure if you go back and watch my last episode, The Straw That Broke the Camel's Back, the one thing that made me leave Joseph Smith being characterized as a predator, absolutely, I thought to myself, well, that is what he is. And I don't believe that God would speak to someone like that or direct him to tell other people how to believe or how to be faithful. So, it was a really interesting day. It was, um, I had just like a tiny moat of anxiety thinking like, who am I going to see? And I saw all the people I expected to see. All the old faithful, like, you guys have to understand, like, outside of Utah, it's not really common for people to be in the same ward for such a long time, but for 25 years, I was in the same ward, and it was, like, these same 10 or so families that were, like, the stalwart people in the church, and I have so many stories of my interactions with these people, and some of them are beautiful and wonderful, and some of them are problematic and difficult and toxic. And what's interesting to me is that my overall impression as I was walking out of the chapel, not a Mormon chapel, by the way, this was done in a funeral home, which, like, thank whatever spaghetti monster is in the sky for that. I don't think I could have handled it in a Mormon chapel. Um, But the overall thing that I thought as I was leaving is that the people that were good to me while I was in the church are still good to me now. And the people who were inauthentic with me when I was in the church are still inauthentic with me now. And I can see it. It's like there is a tattoo right across their forehead that says, um, I am unhealed. So um, it was interesting. Uh, I There are a lot of people during my time in the church that I had wonderful, supportive, kind interactions with, and there were a lot of people that were the opposite of that. And the people that were the former are people who I still love today. And it was really wonderful for me to interact with them and see that they still love me and they still want the best for me and they still ask about my children and give me a huge hug and tell me how much they love hearing me sing. And the other people are just like, "Oh, good to see you. Yeah, great to hear you sing again. Bye." Um, Good people are good people, even when they belong to a religion that's arguably a cult, arguably toxic. And, it reaffirmed my sort of life mission that I'm not here to pull anybody out of the church. I'm not here to destroy anyone's faith because I think it's necessary for a lot of people. And I look at a lot of these people that I interacted with today are of my parents' generation, not mine. I don't want for all the world for them to leave the church because they find peace and safety and security in it. They need it. They need it as a tool to address their existential fears. And we all need tools for that. Don't be mistaken about that. We all need tools to face the fear of death, the fear of meaninglessness, all of those things. Um, so the people who are good people, even if they're in a cult. And the people who are unhealed, whether they're in or out of a cult. And the question that I have asked most often of people I encounter on the internet these days, if they're critical of my leaving the church, is, "Can you be happy for me in my new journey?" Full stop. If you can't, then it's very clear that you're unhappy with yourself, not with me. Your negative comments are about you, not about me. So, I hope that I don't know, this turned into, like, not a commentary about the episode that I just released, mainly because, like, 100% of my channel members were over on Hidden True Crime, which I think is great. They were doing Delphi Case tonight. I get it, like, it's a huge bombshell thing. I'm grateful for the 49 people of you who are here tonight. I'm grateful for everyone who likes, who subscribes, who shares these episodes with the people who need to hear them. I'm so grateful for the subscribers. I'm so grateful for the members. Thank you so much for being here, for showing up, for being here for me. Um, this is so true. There are good people in bad religions. There are bad people in good religions. Being a member of a religion doesn't make you good or bad. And also, um, the idea that it takes religion to make good people do bad things sometimes. Sometimes religions can be harmful, so we have to be really careful. Um, I just want to affirm you and support you wherever you are today. If you haven't seen it yet, I did a really short episode a few weeks ago, um, just to say that it's okay. Wherever you are, it's okay. Because we all go through difficult periods in our lives. We all go through ups and downs. We all go through periods where we feel like we understand everything, and then a few days later, we understand nothing. It is okay. And, MB, I hope you don't mind if I mention this, but, MB is working with me on in coaching, and she said, "I'm not sure if I like this road that you're dragging me down," and I was like, "You're on the road already. You're here already. I just came up next to you to hold your hand for a minute." So wherever you are on the road, you are doing a journey of self-discovery and of healing. If you're here, that's the truth because people don't show up to my channel unless they want some kind of introspection and healing. People who don't want healing click on this and then they immediately swipe away because they're like, "Nope, I don't want to talk about that. I don't want to hear about that." So if you're here, it's because you want something better for yourself, and I support that. I celebrate that. I love that because it's so hard to do. Looking in the mirror at yourself and saying, "There's something I don't like and I wanna change it." That's not common. It's just not. So the fact that you're here is amazing. The fact that you're even willing to consider it is amazing. The fact that you're questioning anything is amazing. And I just wanna support you and love you where you are. We are all on this journey of trying to figure out how to live this life and how to find some kind of happiness in this world where there's so many things that are hard. And the thing that I think keeps me going more than anything else is that we're all gonna have garbage that we have to deal with. We're all gonna have these hard times. Like, not every day is gonna be good, and most days are not gonna be great. But if we can just find ways to savor the little moments that make us happy, we can get to the end of the day and say, "That was a good moment. I love that." Um, for me today, there was a beautiful sunset outside. And even though it was 80 degrees outside, I went out and put a fire in my fire pit and sat outside and had a beverage while I watched the flames dance, told myself a new story. I just encourage you to find a moment, just even one moment. Um, and I get this, Renee Michelle, I get it. Trying to avoid the rocks, like, it feels like every day is like, "Oh, oh, 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 shit. How do I do it?" Um, navigating these pitfalls and these rocks all the time, like, it can be exhausting. But if we can take one moment and breathe and say, "I'm in a river. The water's beautiful. The sky's beautiful. The air's clean." Just one moment. That's all. Just take one moment, love that moment, relish that moment. That's all. So wherever you are, it's okay. However you feel, it's okay. Just see if you can find one thing that you love about your day today. Thank you for being here. Thanks for your support. Thanks for your kindness. Please like, please subscribe if you can. Please become a channel member if you're able. This is my full-time job now. It's what I do. I want to give you free group coaching, so please email me at megan@third-verse.com and I will send you a link. I hope you have a wonderful evening, and I'm here for you. Email me, call me, whatever. I love connecting with you, beautiful human beings. Thanks for being here. Thanks for listening to my story, and I hope you have a great night. Please take care of each other, but most importantly, take care of yourself. You deserve it.